Hey, everybody. Welcome to Far From the Tree, your podcast where you can learn, laugh, and even cry with us, your host, mother and daughter duo. I'm Jamie Dawn, and Tatiana Mazel is my daughter, who's a co-host here. I am an ICF leadership coach and astrologer, and Tatiana is a resident therapist dedicated to be of service to others through our gifts, life experiences, and so much more. So get comfy and share this sacred space with us. Grab a beverage. Who knows? Just get comfy and cozy with us, because you just never know what fruit may fall in your lap as you tune into Far From the Tree. Hi, Tatiana.
Hello.
How are you today? What's the weather like?
Feels like a hibernation. It's not like cold and dreary. It's just a comfort feeling of sleepy time.
Sleepy time.
Yeah. Sleepy
Help
time.
it. It's taken back to my 80s.
Mm-hmm.
A little MC Hammer. I'm embarrassed to say.
Are you?
No.
No.
I rarely get embarrassed. The only thing I'm embarrassed about right now is my weather has a sprained MCL from skiing. My very last run of the day on Sunday, I took a risk that I shouldn't have taken. Lesson learned. Luckily, no surgery. Could be worse.
God bless
But I'm off skis for at least 2 weeks, which does not make me happy.
you.
But I am doing all that I need to do to take care of my knee, make sure that I don't push it, all that good stuff. But yeah, if I look like I'm lounging a little bit, I am, because I got my leg up here and trying to baby it.
As you should. Ski season,
Yeah.
it's the end of April.
Yeah, but here in Nevada, we're still getting snow. We're actually supposed to get snow next week.
In May.
Yes. In May.
Ew.
Yes, this can happen. And spring skiing is not easy because it gets all sticky and slushy and it can grab your skis and launch you. And there's a lot of injuries that actually happen during spring skiing, hence what happened to me. But that's okay. Like I say, lesson learned. Next time I will listen to my man when he encourages me to do it the safer way. But as I told him today, I don't live my life on the shore. I like to go for a swim. So, and I'm a kinesthetic learner. For people in the audience who aren't familiar with the different learning styles, there's audio, visual, and kinesthetic. And kinesthetic is that need for experience, hands-on. When I was growing up, my mom, who you call Nana, she would make me go into grocery stores or any sort of boutiques or stores or anything like that with my hands behind my back, because I would pick up everything and look at it. And she's like, Jamie Dawn, you need to stop touching everything. And I said, but I look with my hands. So that's me.
Yeah. When we went to the automobile museum in Reno, I had to put my hands behind my back because I just want to touch all the cars. They're so pretty.
You want to get in them. You want to drive them.
I want to feel the leather and the metal and just like.
Well,
nope.
you and Talbot should come here for hot August nights. My little plug of promotion here. And then you can touch, feel, and see some really great cars, very similar to what's in the museum. Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. So, and there's a concert and there's food and, it's a fun week.
That sounds nice. Yeah. You might get snow though, so who knows?
We're not getting snow in August.
It's mountains. As you said, you're getting snow in May.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. It's wonderful for skiing.
Sure.
Anyways, so for today's episode, we thought we'd talk about the love languages, the 5 love languages that Gary Chapman has developed and put together. And he's done so many other wonderful works on this as well. But this was the foundational platform for him, was the 5 love languages. I'm trying to remember when that came out. I was probably a teenager. So it's had to be around for 35 years now. I'm dating myself. But I think it was a teenager when it all came out. So, Yeah. What do you know about the love languages?
What I know is that they're personal to us and they help us to communicate with other people through, how we use them, how we interpret them.
Yeah. I thought it'd be cool too, since being an astrologer, to apply this based on our astrology chart. Everybody has the planets and signs in their chart, even if some are more dominant than the others. And so when I'm looking at it from a love language perspective, I would be looking at it from a Venus Mars, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. But I want to talk about, so anyway, so I thought it'd be fun to give the audience a love language based on Venus in their sign and Mars in their sign.
Do it.
Yeah. But before we do, let's talk about the love languages. I am not a practitioner per se in this. This isn't something that I'm going to talk about as an expert, but I have taken the quiz and familiarized myself enough with the different love languages. And not ashamed to say my love language, I have my dominant one is words of affirmation. That's how I like to receive love, and acts of service. And then my way of showing love is to give gifts. What about you?
I am a quality time person. It used to be words of affirmation and gift giving. But I would say it's quality time overall, physical touch. And I like to give gifts too. That makes me feel good.
Yeah. Cool.
This is one of the things, along with the attachment styles quiz, that I have couples do like first or second session so that we can go over it. And it also gives them some insight into themselves and their partner. And so, it's like, well, they're not receiving my words. So, well, maybe that's not how they receive love. It doesn't work for them. Maybe them, doing the chores around the house is how they show you that they care. So can we work with that? And usually they come out of it like, oh, okay, well, that was helpful. Now I understand this a little bit more about my partner and I can, attune things. Right now we can work with compromise and communicate through the love languages as well.
Yeah, cool. And it also gives a greater understanding for like me and my partner, if I know that he is someone who doesn't really like words of affirmation, but he understands that's my love language, and I share that with him, he may be better equipped to give me a compliment or to praise something that I've done or whatever, to make me feel good. So he's just more conscious of it, even though that may not be something he's naturally able to do.
Right. It helps create that awareness.
Yeah. And I didn't list off what they were. I just kind of dove into what mine was. But it is words of affirmation, right? How we speak that we appreciate somebody or something about that person, that sort of thing, or they say reflect that back to us. Quality time, which is kind of obvious, right? Spending time with each other. Physical touch, of course, things like massage, sex, holding hands, PDA, whatever.
Cuddling.
What's that? Cuddling, absolutely. Acts of service. So for me, that would show up in ways where, let's say I had a long day working, the kitchen needed cleaned, and my partner's cleaning the kitchen for me, because he knew I had a long day. Right. That's an example. Or going grocery shopping because I just didn't have time or energy. And then receiving or giving gifts. I put giving in there. It's really receiving gifts is the statement, if you will, or the title, but also put giving, because the gift part is I know I received the love because somebody's giving me a gift, but then giving gifts is another expression of love.
So yeah, I love gift giving. It just feels good.
Yeah. Which one do you find to be the most challenging for people? Do you have a preference? Or have you noticed?
Not in particular.
Okay.
Nothing in particular. Most people that come in, it's, we want to work on communication. Well, again, communication is a lot of things, right? Everyone assumes that it's verbal, but it's not always that. It's the nonverbals too. You can tell a lot about your partner with their body language. And again, with the love languages, you communicate through those. So again, words don't always work for people. They don't know, they don't have them, they're not equipped to do them, but maybe they grew up in a place where, again, like doing the chores or filling up your gas tank in your car, or helping with homework, being a study buddy, something like that quality time, that showing, that action is more than words. And so the love languages really just like shed a light on that. But I don't think I've had anybody dominate one particular style.
Oh, here's a challenge because it's just coming to me. So why not? Let's just ad hoc this. Attachment styles and love languages. So
Interesting.
if you're an avoidant, which love language would you most likely be akin to, and which one would you be advert to?
We're just speculating here because I don't know what the science is behind it.
Yeah, we're just playing around. This podcast is not always about, we're the expert here. This is more about exploration. Learn with us, let's see. And it may give us something to go to science and find out about, right?
It's a good question. I mean, avoidant styles are, they shy away from intimacy. So it's possible that any of the love languages can push them away if they become too intimate. Right? And someone who is, say, anxious needs some kind of reinforcement, reassurance, and almost any of these they could glom onto. That's my perspective.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting because just as I'm thinking about it, quality time is about the only one that I could see an avoidant being more comfortable with if it wasn't spoken about or it wasn't really overt in the expression, because it wouldn't necessarily trigger something, even though an avoidant needs space, but if it becomes too intimate, right? But the quality time isn't quantity time. So I could see a avoidant being the most comfortable with the quality time of like, okay, we just had a half an hour of really fun time. So, okay, off we go. Right. So I could see that. So again, speculating. And with the anxious, I would say that it might be for me, and because I have an anxious style in one particular relationship, for me, the gift giving might be the most uncomfortable, because I'd be wondering, is there strings attached? What is this? So yeah, that again, me projecting.
If I had to pin it down, I would say that someone who's avoidant would be okay with physical touch, simply in the form of like sex, because sex can be just a casual thing if they want it to be. And for anxious, words of affirmation for that constant reassurance or validation. And maybe that's my own personal bias, but that's how I would register.
Yeah. Yeah, I have found in my working with people that an anxious attachment, the words of affirmation are one of the first to bring them into a calm state. Because it's almost like they wouldn't trust the other one. They haven't trusted the other ones. It's almost it's as if they need that sort of shot in the arm, that fix, of like, oh, he or she just said he loved me, or he or she said that we're okay, or whatever. It's like, okay, now I can calm my nervous system down. Right. Versus the physical touch or the quality time, because it's like, or the gift giving, acts of service, because that's where it's like, well, there, it still leads some interpretation, because I find that to be a very common theme with people, is that we often make assumptions and misinterpretations, like, oh, he or she did this or gave me this, so it must mean that.
Mhm.
You know, we are wonderful human creatures. We overthink everything.
Everything. It's very tricky. The brain is a meaning making machine that needs something to glom onto, whatever that may be. Except that even when we get something to glom onto, we can be really good at sabotaging that too. Oh no, they didn't really mean that. Okay. And then the brain just makes up stories.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about this in almost every episode of how wonderful our stories in our heads are. And, you know, we write great novels and great scripts and all that sort of thing, you know. And I think, you know, it's a good reminder for anybody who's just listening to this, or listening to all of our series, and thank you very much. But it's a good reminder to bring ourselves back to the present and to not read so much into everything.
Our brain is meant to keep us safe. It is not meant to keep us happy. It is our job to bring in that happiness after we say, hey, brain, we are safe. There is no present danger. There's no perceived threats. There's nothing. We're good. Chill the fuck out. Now I'm going to go about my day and enjoy this sunshine or this quality time with my family or this movie over here. I'm allowed to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that reptilian feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's there
read
for a reason.
I read a wonderful book a few years ago, and the exact title's escaping me. Anyways, when it comes to me, I'll share it, and it may have to be a link in the podcast link, but once I remember it. But anyways, it was about a woman named Diana who, and it's sort of a metaphorical book, but she was going through all of the processes of her, say, conscious awakening, and how to self-soothe, and how to become a better version of herself, and to really wake up to her true nature. And one of the characters was she ended up in the woods, and ended up with the snake as being the first character that showed up for her to master. And the metaphor was, it was the reptilian brain, and how to soothe herself, and how to allow the snake to be there without it harming her. So
I like that.
yeah, which, you know, leads me to another thing. I'm going to kind of timestamp this one, if you will, or date stamp our podcast, but this is happening a week before a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio. It's April 28th today, 2023, and our eclipse is on May 5th.
Already?
Yeah, well, we just had a new moon. So every
I know.
every 2 weeks, the moon goes through its phases. Yes, and we're in eclipse season. So reminding everybody, an eclipse is when the nodes of the moon are canoodling, as I like to say, or conjunct the sun and or the moon, depending on if it's full or new. And so, well, it's conjunct the sun and moon. But anyways, the full moon is when the sun and moon are standing opposite of each other. And so the moon reflects the light of the sun, therefore we see it. That's why it's full. And then, but the sun is canoodling the north node in Taurus right now. And then the moon is canoodling the south node in Scorpio. And this is the last full moon eclipse in this series. Then we start a new series in Aries Libra come July. So anyways, I'm pointing that out because we're talking about this reptilian brain and everything. And this particular eclipse is full of water energy, and water in astrology represents emotions. That's one piece of it. It's not just
I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep.
Well,
Moon, whatever you do, Moon, hear me now. Whatever you do, please allow good sleep for the rest of my days. I had a client say to me, like, oh, I woke up and I felt really disoriented and dizzy and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, hey, girl, you know, it's like Mercury retrograde. And she's like, you know, my boss said that to me and I had no idea what that was. And I like went into stuff and she's like, well, I guess that's it right now. I said, I've To be honest, if I don't have any other explanation, I'm gonna blame the planet. Yep.
Good. They can handle it. The
Yep.
planets and the gods all above can handle it.
They brought this upon themselves, really. If the gods created all of us, they also created emotion and gave it to us. Blame was one of those. Just saying.
Well, I will go into, yes, you're correct, just saying. And I'll go into the chicken or the egg theory here. But did the gods create us, or did we create the gods? Because we needed something to project our human nature onto.
Bro. By the way, if y'all, not that I don't promote risky substance abuse, responsible use, absolutely fine. Be responsible. But if y'all have listened to this sober, my mom makes a whole lot more sense when I'm high. Just have to tell you. So for those of you that are interested in a interesting experience, you know, if you feel like taking a little hit of weed or something and listening to her, it's pretty just, you get on that same level. It makes so much more sense.
There's no judgment. This is a judgment-free zone. Every human is allowed to do what they feel is best for them, but I agree with you. No abuse. Yeah, I won't go down that rabbit hole. I'll leave it for now.
You'll bring it up later. You'll remember it.
Oh, I'm sure I will. And yeah, let's just say that where my mind can go, people hate when I say this phrase, but I believe in everything and nothing. And that just means that I have my belief system, which I use, and it changes over time, depending on my evolution and consciousness. And doesn't mean it's right for everyone else. It's mine. So if you believe in something different, great. I believe in that for you as well. That's all it means. So.
Well, we should table this and bring it up later because we're diverting from our love languages conversation. But this one's a good one.
I need some words of affirmation right now.
You're doing great.
Oh,
keep it up.
Do I get a gold star too?
You can have an A+ if you want.
We do divert sometimes.
I know.
Anyway, you're right. It's a good subject that we can go into. All right, so back to love languages and what they're useful for. As we talked about connection and understanding, it's a great talking tool. I have seen some people use it very consciously, where they could be in the middle of conflict and go, wait a minute, hold on, this isn't the love language you need. And they'll backtrack and they'll, say, what can I do for you right now, or whatever, So
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. Love languages bring our awareness to a different space. It does. It opens up that world of possibility.
The other thing about love language is that we use the word love, and we know how layered the word love is, and it has many different connotations to it. But the thing about love language that I like is that it has an element of giving without expecting anything in return. It's like, this is the language in which I communicate how I show you that I want the best for you, or I want you to feel good, or I want you to know that this is my expression of love.
Or that my feelings are pure and genuine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has an authentic vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, shall we talk about love languages by sign?
Please.
Okay.
I already read mine, and I'm just like, maybe.
Well, do you know where your Venus and Mars are?
Nope, you can tell me.
Okay, so here's the thing. We are more than just our sun sign. As an astrologer, I get a little frustrated because everybody's like, oh, I'm a Cancer. Oh, I'm a Sag. Oh, I'm a Taurus, whatever. Okay, that's your sun sign, but that's not who you are. That is one aspect of you. That'd be like saying I'm blonde. Okay, but I'm much more than just my hair color, So and so many people will read like their horoscopes and glamour or whatever, and they go, oh, this must be happening to me. Please, please, please. Here's the rule of thumb. if nothing else, know your sun, moon, and rising sign, the rising or ascendant, which is based off the time of your birth. That's why it's important, why astrologers ask for the time of birth, because otherwise you have to rectify the chart, which I do not do. Maybe one day I will, but it's a long process to rectify it to find the exact time. But anyways, if you have that time, that gives you an accurate reading for the ascendant, which helps with house placements and where the planets are in the chart for you. It also helps with the chart ruler. I won't go deeper into that. So when you're reading your horoscopes, if you know your sun, moon, and rising sign, and you can get a free birth chart on astro.com, on AstroSeek, there's so many resources. I'm happy to pull people's chart for them and give it to them. So don't, if you ever had to pay for a birth chart, don't. That's all I'm saying. But you will need your date of birth, your time, and your place of birth. So your sun, moon, and rising sign will give you somewhat of a picture around your personality. Okay. Sun is what energizes you. It's what motivates you creatively. It's what allows you to really come into yourself. The moon is what we do subconsciously. It brings out the things if we feel threatened or if we want to protect. It's the way in which we need to nurture ourselves. It's the mother, how we mother others as well. And then the rising sign or the ascendant is the mask that we wear, the way in which we want others to perceive us, or think of it like the front door of your house. You know, it's like, oh, it's a green door. This must be a warm and friendly place, right? Maybe that's the kind of thing. So it's how we show people who we are. It might be, oh, here's somebody with purple hair. She must be very creative. Maybe she's a hairstylist, right? That's the mask or the ascendant. How it's also how we first approach new things. So if you know those three and you read your horoscope, you might get a decent idea of what could be coming up for you or where the energy is for you in the moment. Now the next planet closest to the sun is Mercury, right? So that's how we think. That is how we communicate. It's how we process information, how we learn, because Mercury is the messenger god, as I was talking about in our previous episode when we were talking about Mercury retrograde. Now, if we're talking communication like we did in our last episode, I would talk all things mercurial. Here we get to now Venus and Mars. These are all of our personal planets. Venus, and these are all based on Greek and Roman mythology archetypes, right? So Venus, we know, or Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty and art and harmony and values and how we create beauty in our world, right? It's also how we relate to others, how we give and receive love. And so that's where Venus comes in when I'm looking at love languages. How do I give and receive love in relationship? Everything to do with relationships is Venus. Mars was the Roman god, Aries, Mars, and Mars, it was the great protector of the community, but also the god of war. And Mars in astrology is how we are motivated, how we assert ourselves, how we're driven, what turns us on. It's the masculine principle. It's about sex because it's so driven and assertive. It wants to create, it wants to push its masculine out into the world. And you can see it in the glyphs of astrology as well, where you have Venus with the matter of cross coming down from spirit, right? So she's receiving and giving this beautiful spiritual love, if you will, down into physical form. And whereas Mars, you have the spirit of, you have the soul or spirit circle with the arrow, and it's asserting, this is what I want out into the world. Okay, so setting it up. So that's why I'm explaining this, is that when I look at astrology, I'm looking at the Venus Mars first when it comes to love languages, how people give and receive love, how they may relate to each other. Not all, it can be compatibility as well, but it's not always that case. So here we go. And I'm going to make it personal because I happen to have Tatiana's chart.
Yay.
Yeah. So let me open it here. Where Where are you, my girl?
Might as well pull Rosie's too.
Oh, my Rosie Posy, that little precious nugget.
My mom pulled my dog's chart, guys, so that she could figure out why they were so compatible.
So I'm a little obsessed with my granddogs. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So here's the thing, Tatiana, and I already knew this, but I was just confirming.
Mm-hmm.
Tatiana had, let's just say, if anybody was a pure Sagittarius, Tatiana is pretty damn close because she's got sun. And I want to say, I would never do this without her permission. Okay. So I will never share personal. I believe that the astrology chart, super personal and it is confidential. But so do I have your permission to share?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So you have the sun, Venus, Mercury, and Mars all in Sagittarius and in the ninth house. And the reason I bring that up, again, I won't go deep into it, but Sagittarius in the zodiac wheel, if you go through all the signs, Sagittarius rules the ninth house. So you really can't get a lot closer to a pure Sag than this. Just saying. So that being said, love language. Keep Sag in mind, T. We'll come back. So if you have Venus in Aries, the way in which you may give and receive love, and I say may because again, these are all generalized things. We are all personal people, and not one chart is the same, not one person is the same. So please take this with as much grain of salt. If it resonates, great. If you're scratching your head going, I don't know, then let's look at other things in your chart too. So that being said, Aries, I'm giving you acts of service and words of affirmation. Giving, the way you give love would be acts of service. Why? Because Aries can go in there and just, they're the ones that you count on when there's a crisis, right? And Venus in Aries loves to be assertive and to be flashy and do her thing. So being there for others. And then receiving love would be words of affirmation, because Aries likes to be praised for the good work that they do, for the way they protect others, and that they can show up as the hero of the story, if you will. Taurus, giving love would be quality time. And I picked that one because I've noticed, like with Taurus, Venus and Taurus, it's all about creating this beauty and this art and being able to share this with others in a really beautiful way. And so how do you do that? Spending some quality time, looking at maybe teaching others how to do the art, or being able to just be with them. And Taurus energy is so warm and friendly. And then receiving love, you want to please a Venus and Taurus, have some physical touch. They're very sensual. It's all about the physical body. And so massage, cuddling, sex, all of that. Give a Venus and Taurus physical touch and they will feel the love. Gemini, giving and receiving words of affirmation. So giving love would be compliments, it would be flirting, it would be batting their eyes a little bit, and being a really youthful and fun, and also intellectual stimulation. And then receiving words of affirmation helps a Venus and Gemini know that they're loved and that they have that connection, and that's where that real chemistry can start. Venus and Cancer, gift giving. I chose that one for giving love because Cancer loves to nurture. And so they're wanting to throw the party and create the environment that makes people feel safe, and because that's what they need too in order to feel safe. And they love giving the gifts because they want to make sure that the people around them know that they're loved. And so they want something tangible for that. And then receiving love would be the acts of service. So it's like, throwing the party. And then if your beloved says, let me clean the kitchen, you did all the cooking and the decorating, I'll clean up for you. Cancer is going to go, oh, I feel nurtured. This is great. Venus and Leo, giving quality time is what I chose for giving. So the quality time, because Leo loves to be on stage and it wants to be able to show how wonderful it is and what it can do for you. And so spending that quality time allows the space for this Leo to shine. And then Venus in Leo, as far as receiving love, would be giving gifts. Oh, it's like the Leo's on stage. Let's throw the roses up there. Let's give them the award, the Emmy, that sort of thing. Give them the gifts to show them how absolutely wonderful their love is and how wonderful they are and valued they are. Pausing for a second. Questions, Tatiana? I'm
Nope.
kind of dominating at the moment.
You're good.
Comments?
Keep going.
Okay. Then Virgo. Giving love, Venus and Virgo, acts of service. Virgo is a service-oriented sign, and so it will come very naturally for them to give their time, their energy in ways to be of service to others, to say, this is how I want you to know I love you, or I want you to know I care even. And I've seen this show up many times with Venus and Virgo, even at work, where, it's like, hey, we need this done. It's like, Venus and Virgo is the first one to raise their hand. I'll do it. They'll take on too much, and then receiving love, Venus and Virgo, quality time. I've done all these acts of service. Now I just need time to regroup. I just want to spend some time maybe with my friends, my family, my loved ones, just enjoying the fruits of our labor. Venus and Libra. Giving, I chose words of affirmation. Again, these are all generalized because Libra is your peacemaker, the one that it can take any object, subject matter, and see three sides to it, can tell a good story. The great politician wants to be able to make sure that everybody feels good, balanced, in harmony. And so those words of affirmation help to mitigate any conflict. And then receiving love would be gift giving, because now that they've calmed everybody down, or everybody's on the same page, let's all celebrate, let's all give gifts, let's go and party, let's just have a good time. And showing a Venus in Libra that you care about them could be giving them gifts that are meaningful and are relatable to the way in which they express their love. Venus and Scorpio. The way that they, I would say, give is through quality time or physical touch. I chose these two because Scorpio is also a very sensual sign, and anybody with Venus and Scorpio loves to get into the physical aspects of it. Very, very sexual as well. So I would say quality time and physical touch. So if you're planning on if you want a lover, if you will, that is going to create the environment, like the candles and the music, and really taking their time with you, Venus and Scorpio will do that. They might get a little kinky too, if you're into that. So Scorpio, but also Venus and Taurus. I'll mention that because the physical touch with Taurus as well. And then receiving love, Venus and Scorpio, quality time. And that also has to do with the depth of Scorpio. They want to spend time. They want to go deeper. They want to be able to know that they are loved because you're willing to sacrifice something of your time and your energy with them, and really form these strong emotional bonds. All right, here we go. Sagittarius, T. I chose love language of giving, Venus and Sag, of acts of service. And the reason I chose that is because Sagittarius needs to be active. It needs to have something to do at all times. And in being of service, like you mentioned, filling up your gas tank in your car or whatever, that's a way of showing, hey, I'm going to take action to show you that I love you. We're not going to just talk about it. I'm going to show you. And Sagittarius is also very optimistic. So it's like, okay, in these acts of service, I can make your life better. I can make our relationship better. And then receiving love would be physical touch. And I chose that because when Sagittarius is able to compete and do their, have all kinds of optimism and do all these things, for someone to run up to them and just bear hug them and say, I love you, you're just amazing. There's words of affirmation there, but there's also that physical touch which anchors it in. So it's more than just talk. There's also that physicalness to it. And knowing that, let's just say we use holding hands, PDA in public or whatever, that Venus in Sagittarius loves to have to say, hey, this is my person. So their partner, maybe holding their hand or putting their arm around them, says, yeah, they're hot, you could have them, but they're mine. And it's not a possessiveness as much as it's a pride.
Accurate. Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right, Capricorn. Now you have a moon in Capricorn. So let's see. Remember, the moon is what we use to nurture ourselves. Let's play with the idea of love languages around this. So when I need to receive love or give love, okay, keep that in mind too. So here's moon in Venus in Capricorn. Giving love would be gifts, because Capricorn is all about achieving things, all about being able to say, this is useful and I built this, I took my time, I achieved it. It's something tangible. And so give is something tangible to say, I worked really hard for this. So here, I want to buy you that. That's my way of showing you I love you. And then receiving love, Venus in Capricorn, acts of service. And I chose that because when Capricorn is working so hard and doing all these things, to have their loved one come behind them and say, how can I help you? You're doing so much for everybody else. Feels Aquarius, Venus and Aquarius. We may not get to Mars. I don't want to keep everybody forever. We'll see.
Part two.
What's that?
Part two.
Okay, yes, part two. Venus in Aquarius, I chose for love language of giving, quality time. And part of the reason I chose that is because Aquarius is all about their ideas. They're the innovator. They're the one that also is very independent, and they're seeking independence, but it's not an independence in the rebellious sense, even though I know people will push back because Aquarius can be rebellious. It's independence in order to find equality. Aquarius energy really wants equality for everybody. And so it's like, yes, it's freedom, but it's freedom for everyone, not just I'm going to rebel and do my own thing. So the quality time with Venus in Aquarius I chose that because they would like to have time with those that mean the most to them, so that everybody feels like they're receiving the same kind of love. So they're giving their time. Also, because Aquarius is so freedom loving and they're kind of doing their own thing half the time, that when they spend quality time with someone, it's genuine, because they've actually slowed down enough to be able to say, this is me spending time with you, sharing my ideas, and just being with you. And then Venus in Aquarius receiving love would be words of affirmation. They would like to be praised for all their brilliant ideas and how wonderful their acts of service in the world are, and their innovation is so amazing and how wonderful it's doing. And they can feel really good that they get those kinds of accolades, if you will. And then Venus in Pisces chose giving. So for them to give love would be acts of service. Pisces is a very sacrificial sign. It also is one that's very compassionate, very healing, and very loving, in the sense of they will take on everything. And so acts of service is their way of saying, I love you. I'm sacrificing everything in me in order for you to feel love. And then receiving love would also be acts of service. So if they get that reciprocated back to them, they will feel as though they have they're on the right path, and they're going to keep giving the acts of service because they're receiving it back. It's that reflective kind of quality. And so I would also say Venus in Pisces likes to get gifts as well. But I chose acts of service because of just my intuition, if you will, and some of my experience with those who I've worked with that have Venus in Pisces, that the acts of service seems to be more dominant. So there we go.
All right. Fascinating.
Yeah. Comments, questions?
I hope that people got something out of this. I hope it, shed some light or resonated or was helpful in some way. Or at least, probed for others to figure out what their love language may be if they haven't already. And how it can show up.
Yeah. And I think it, again, it goes back to why I use astrology, but we can use assessments of all kinds, DISC, Myers-Briggs, love languages, the 6 working types of genius. I mean, there's so many assessments out there, but it's really about a tool for greater self-awareness. And the more self-aware we are, the better we can show up for ourselves, the better we can show up for those who are dependent on us, the better we can show up just in the world in general.
Self-awareness is key. If we don't have any of that, no change will be done.
That's right. What do they say? We can only change ourselves.
Correct.
You want to see change in the world? Change yourself. Start with you. Yeah. So, I feel like I've talked this entire time.
Maybe a little, but that's okay.
Well,
today was the Jamie Dawn show.
No. Any last closing comments or questions?
Nope, I don't think so. I think you covered it pretty well.
Well, we'll do a part 2 and we'll talk about Mars, and we'll also go a little bit deeper into love languages because I have more in-depth questions. Maybe we'll dissect each one a little bit more in our next one. So
perfect introduction then.
Great. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Psychology Today. You can find me at Pathways Family and Community Services. If you're in Virginia and you're looking for a counselor and something I've said has resonated with you or my energy or anything like that. I have started my own business, Wings of Fire LLC, that is based in Florida. So at some point when I become fully licensed in the next couple of years, that will take effect.
Awesome. And you can find me at jamiedawn.com, and I am all over social media, and I'm just so grateful to be able to be part of this podcast with you, my dear daughter.
Me too, Mama.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, watching, and subscribing. Comment when you would like, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, y'all. Individuals will show up and it's like, I don't know how to say this. Okay, so let me give you some examples of how I might say something. Obviously, it's what I think is like the ideal way of saying it. Does it ever happen? Probably not, because in real life that it doesn't always happen like that, but we can prepare ourselves, right? But you walk them through